Söz. Oh, let me pop it up. Good evening. I'd like to call to order this June 21st, 2022 Dayton Public School Board business meeting. Madam Treasurer, may we have a roll call, please?
President Smith,
Present.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Present.
Mr. Sampson,
Here.
Ms. Wigani, Dr. Pickett,
Present.
Dr. Goodwin,
Here.
Mr. Lacey.
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. To start out this evening, we have a special recognition for our spring sports and as well as our middle school athletics. Dr. Lally.
We have several coaches here that are going to help us out with this presentation today, so I'd ask them to come to the podium, and then I'd ask the board, and if Treasurer, I don't know if you want to go down or not in the wheelchair again, but if the board and Treasurer could join us in the front to congratulate the students.
Thank you.
President Smith.
You want to pop a balloon? Because I can pop one for you.
Check.
I'm just saying, if you want to do it, we can do it.
I think it was the last time.
Check.
Yeah.
President Smith, Dr. Lally, we'd like to thank you and the board for inviting us here today. And also we'd like to thank Executive Athletic Director Victoria Jones for helping to arrange this. Unfortunately, Ms. Jones is out of town today, and she asked Ms. Northworthy and myself if we could represent her today, and we're very honored to be able to do that. My name is Randall Reisner. I'm the Athletic Site Coordinator for Stivers School for the Arts. Jill Norsworthy did, Kim Norsworthy, I'm sorry, from Belmont track coach. She did all the hard work. She asked me to do the easy thing here, so I'm just going to do the announcing. Already messed it up, obviously. If I could first call up Coach McKinney with the Stivers middle school volleyball team.
So this is to honor you guys in getting first place in the district. So 7th grade won first and 8th grade won first. And I have Mackenzie Brown, Ava Edwards, Micaiah Gillis, Amir Williams, Princess Carpenter, and my one 8th grader that's here is Janiyah Harris.
And now if I could introduce Coach Sane and Coach Foz, if they could come up, please, for the middle school girls basketball team.
Good evening. We are the coaches for Stivers. We had a combined team. This is my wife, Coach P. This is the other assistant, Coach Foz, and that's the other assistant, Coach Tingle. We had a combined team, and we are the two-time defending city champions. Let me introduce the young ladies. Princess Carpenter. Amira Williams. Micaiah Gillis. Ava Edwards. Venice LaRue Milam. Adrian Drake. And Sulani Tingle.
Now we can introduce the Wright Brothers 7th grade boys basketball team.
Good evening. Thank you, board, for having us. My name is Robert Brown, the head basketball coach at the Wright Brothers Middle School. We are so honored. I'm also honored to have brought a basketball championship to the East End of Dayton. So we're gonna keep that ball rolling. The guys I have here with me today, I have Mr. Marlo Wynn. Some of our students are not here right now, so we'll apologize. We'll definitely get theirs to them. Let's see. All right, there we go. We have Dante Shivers Jr. And we have Mr. Joshua Shepard. Thank you guys again for having us. Am I leaving these here? Taking it. Oh, you can leave here? Yeah.
Hold on one second. Take a picture.
Can you step in the middle? All right. I think I can see everyone. Can I have you just step toward the front? All right. 1, 2, 3. Everyone look here. Smile. All right. Thank you guys.
And now for the 8th grade boys, Wagaman, Coach McKinney.
Oh, man. How you guys doing? So for the first time, we had a Dayton annual tournament with all the Dayton area teams. So my boys won that tournament, so I'm very proud of them for that. But I have Derek Hardy. I don't know if that's the one. I have Jacarius Reeves. Derek. Go through there. I got Karan Foster Jr. And I have Devon Reese.
Go ahead. You guys want to get your picture taken? Right here in front. could have the E.J. Brown Boys Middle School track team, Coach Warren.
Hi, how y'all doing? We're Edwin Joe Brown, boys track. My first championship as a coach, first of many. I only got 2 of my 12 here, but we got Lorenzo Huggins and we have Chris Hill.
Everyone on camera. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
And our final middle school team, Stivers Girls Middle School track, Coach Tingle.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Reisner. My name is Ronnie Tingle, Coach Foz. I had Coach Bird, and we had over 50 to come out and 25 to stay. But today we have, oh, they're up here. Okay. Miss Andrea Drake. Adrian. I'm playing. Adrian Drake. I'm sorry, that's a joke. She doesn't. Micaiah Gillis. Ava Edwards. MVP of everything. Let's go. Nevaeh McDade. Nevaeh McDade. Amari Butler. Why y'all still looking at me like that? Sulani Tingle. Miss Janiyah Harris, my 2-time champion with me. Sulani, a 2-time champion. And Bella. Thank you, Miss Bella Morris. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you so much for being winners with me. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Scrunch down sometimes.
All right, everyone look over here. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Kim Northworthy is going to announce the high school.
First up, I'm going to call Dunbar's baseball coach. Well, actually, he's the site coordinator, Mr. Dorsey.
First of all, good evening. Thank you for having us here. We've had 23 players come out for baseball and only 17 stayed. And in my 5 years at Dunbar, this is the first year we had baseball. And it was an honor to see these kids play. They didn't want to play. They came out and helped the coach that was the first year coach here at Dunbar, Mr. Noel. Him and his staff are on vacation. We have 17 players that are not here due to graduation in summer. But I have 3 great young men that I see in the school. I got Mr. Hill. I don't know if y'all here, but I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Just go shake me and I'll give it to you. I have Mr. Pugh. Yeah, all of them are here. I'll get them to you. And I have Mr. Hooks. And once again, it was an honor and pleasure to be the site coordinator at Dunbar. And we look for bigger and better things from the baseball team. Thank you. I'll pass my card.
Good job, guys. Good job. Next, I'm going to introduce Stivers softball coach, Mr. Coach David Baker.
I just wanted to say this group of young ladies just showed a tremendous work ethic and just is a true example of just what hard work and dedication does. For the first time in my 9 years of coaching the softball team, this was by far the highest ranking we got in Division II in the Southwest District. We were ranked 4 out of the 10 teams, and we were able to host our home tournament game this year, which we didn't win, but we played hard, and I'm just very proud of this group of young ladies. So, the first one, Paige Wells. Linda Sue Hammond. Cadence Nichols. Mahogany Sanders. Denisha Woodard. Alicia Ross. And Lauren Buck. Thanks.
Good job, ladies. The next coach that I would like to call up, it is the Dunbar's track coach, Coach Booker.
Hello, all. Come on in, guys and ladies. I'd like to introduce to you all our Dunbar track team, and I'd like to say a little bit about them, that this year our kids defended their City League title for the 28th straight year, consecutive year. And, you know, just a note on that, it takes a lot of dedication and commitment from the kids year in and year out to be able to produce like that. And I'm extremely proud of this group. So I'd like to start to introduce to you. First, our coaches is Coach Juanita Hurd. And Coach Stefan Watts. And starting off, Amber is our first. Second is Ryan Smith. Cassidy Smithson. Keyshawn Golden. Dario White. Darius Henson. Mr. Price. Mr. Sledge. Darian Lasley. Keshana Golden. Shay Craver. Tajir Shipman. Javion Graves. Tybrian. We like to call this young man the biggest dog on the team, Davion Tay. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Good job, Dunbar. Before I call up my next team, I would like to acknowledge Principal Griffith. He is here representing for Stivers. And the next coach that I would like to call up is Coach Ways. He is the Stivers girls track coach.
I'm gonna keep it short. I just am proud of these girls for pushing through a long season, a really long season, and bringing home our second city championship in a row. So first, I would like to call up Ramaya Green. Madison Tyler. Danielle Scott. Jasmine Shelton. Erica Harvey. Jakayla Pounds. Sienna Massey. And Lauren Buck. And then my assistant coach, Mr. Powell, Coach Powell. Thank you.
again for allowing athletics to come and be a part of this and just represent our student athletes. Thank you guys once again.
Can you hear me now? There's a switch on the side. Now?
Good evening. How about if I introduce the people that are achieving these grants, and then you can go sit down, and then I'll finish while you're sitting and resting, okay? I'm Nancy Nerney, and I represent the Dayton Public Schools Foundation, and we would like to award this year our grants for schools who have applied for grants to improve the success of their students. We had a total of $7,100 in grants, and if they're here, I'd like to call up those people's names. First is Michelle Brock from Meadowdale CTC. She ordered books to improve Spanish language skills. Is Michelle here? Okay, hope she's watching. Next is Kelly Cox from Cleveland Elementary. She ordered a social emotional toolbox. You'll hear that from time to time because, as we know, social emotional education is the in thing nowadays. Next is Melinda Dixon, who ordered some Spanish easy readers for comprehension. She's from Ponitz. Next is Emily Francisco from Cleveland Elementary. She ordered a math toolbox of manipulatives. Is she here? Okay. Next is a grant sponsored by Superintendent Lally. First of all, there's a tricycle. No, Superintendent, you can't use her tricycle. For preschool gross motor development by Dana Groves of Kaiser Elementary. And Dana also ordered, that's why we put Superintendent Lally's name on it, she's going to do a children's handbell choir. So we know that the superintendent has a music bias, so that will be great. Next is Lauren Grouper, who is doing after-school things with students learning embroidery and basic sewing. Can you all stay up there and we'll have a group picture? Okay. Next is Patricia Hochbaum. She did Scholastic classroom magazines and giant number stepping stones and activity balls for preschoolers, as well as yoga mats from Kaiser. Next is Alexandria Lane from Cleveland, who did a math toolbox. And Jewel Leach, who last year did this without any help. This year he's over at Wright Brothers Middle School and wants to have his multiple disabilities class prepare meals and deliver meals. So we've given him a cooking budget. So if you all happen to be in the neighborhood on Friday afternoon, you might get something. Next is Patricia Lewis, who did nature-based play space at Roosevelt Elementary. And then Carson Oler, who also did a toolkit for a math workshop, and he's from Cleveland. Next is Nicole Plenert from Wright Brothers Middle School, and she did pickleball equipment. Pickleball is not only for senior citizens. Next is Hannah Stewart, and she needed some alternative flexible seating in her Wright Brothers Middle School class. And next, if she's here, is Deborah Immel. And Deborah, and Kristen is coming up. Deborah ordered she is a counselor at Wright Brothers, and she ordered some coping centers for 3 classrooms to increase attendance. So we hope that that will work out better for them. And taking the order is Kristen Northcutt. Kristen and Principal Hoddle there from Wright Brothers are going to be spearheading this, right? So while you're all still here, I want to introduce our board member. Wait. Sorry. It's Clinton Coble. Would you stand up, please? Clinton is one of our board members who came to witness it. And of course, Joni Watson, who is on our board now. She used to be in front of you as a teacher as well. Of course, of course. So can we all get in pictures now? And Paige Husky, who is a board member to be. So come on. And Shelley Outlaw as well. And myself and Erica. Where'd Erica go? We're going to take pictures as well. So if we'll all get up in front of this group, then we'll have our pictures taken. Thank you so much. I'll be back.
Everyone look over here. 1, 2, 3.
Go ahead and I'll finish it when you get back. It's a long time standing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This year, we made available our classroom grants for up to $500 to each DPS teacher who wanted to apply, and our school grants of $1,500 for each DPS school. Because of the generosity of your employee donors, as well as our community donors, we're able to announce our grants for the 2022 school year with more than $7,000. It is our 7th annual round of offering grants. During the past 2 years, we gave out a low number of grants due to COVID. This year, from 24 applications, we bring you 18 grants from innovative teachers finding creative ways to reach their students with materials that are not able to be provided by the district. Our grants have been diverse, from gardens to learn where food comes from, to plays, enabling immigrant children to tell their stories, to repair parts for successful drone navigating, to growing microgreens for possible sale in the Gem City market. We are grateful to the district's HR, PR, teaching and learning departments, and the Treasurer's Office for their support implementing these grants. We truly believe that these grants from our donors enable us to directly impact the success of DPS students. As our students grow, so does our community and the value of its future citizens as they give back to our community. Thank you for your guidance of our school district. We look forward to working with you and also enjoying donations from you, both people that you know that might want to be on our board and other support. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Nerney. Just want to say I appreciate everything you do, everything your board does to really help our students. We want to encourage everyone to please donate. Please get involved, and for our staff to, if you have those ideas, please apply for those grants. Are there any questions, comments, or anything from the board for Ms. Nerney? Once again, thank you so much. Dr. Lally, next presentation, please.
Yes, I'd ask that the board refresh your screens. And the next presentation is a review of the Males of Color program, Females of Color program from the Office of Cultural Engagement. Dr. Stacy Worley.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To this esteemed board, Superintendent Dr. Lally, Board President William Smith, Vice President Jocelyn Reinert, Mr. Deion Sampson, Gabriella Pickett, Mrs. Karen Wiganie, Dr. Krishanda Goodwine, and Mr. Joseph Lacey. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to inform you of the engagement and that's expounding within the cultural engagement and inclusion of females of color. Before I start, I must congratulate all the teams that got awarded this evening. I also want to congratulate the staff throughout this district, from the janitors opening up every campus, our admin staff in the back office, our educators, paras, SROs, bus drivers, and our life coaches. Most importantly, our parents, as we continue to cultivate, educate, and prepare our DPS students for the future that's coming for them. I must say it's a privilege to serve our students in the Cultural Engagement and Inclusion Program. There's a quote by Paul Waters that says, "When we listen and celebrate what is common and different, we become wiser and more inclusive and a better organization." Over the past 2 years, the Males of Color office and the staff has evolved into a facet of deepened relationships of engagement all throughout our district and our community. As you see on the slide, our first year, last year, as I took the lead, we build positive character in young males of color, develop and enhance critical thinking skills in our young males of color, and also help motivate young males of color towards positive identity development. And lastly, help provide cultural enrichment for young males of color. Our next slide. The Office of Males of Color is still focused on improvement of males of color grades, their attendance, and their behavior. We work with a curriculum, and we also have a tracking system that monitors our students and our life coaches' productivity and engagement. We use the Brothers of Ujima and the Sisters of Nia Cultural Enrichment Program book. We have organized an external mentoring support base with various local colleges, universities, businesses, fraternities, and organizations to support our internal engagement. I'm happy to say we have finished up our second year of the Distinguished Males of Color Scholarship Initiative established last year. So far, we have awarded 10 young men scholarships throughout the past 2 years. Our focus, our 4 principles, next slide. Our 4 principles of males of color is brotherhood, scholarship, integrity, and honor. And in our phase 2 of transition for the Office of Males of Color to Cultural Engagement and Inclusion, we still focus on improvement of MOC grades and introducing circles of accountability with a peer-to-peer mentoring. We've established a peer ambassador program that allows our seniors to mentor our juniors to mentor our sophomores, and et cetera, all the way down to grades 3. Being a vital partner of restoration to a student regarding discipline helps the improvement of our males of color code of behavior, and establishing real, authentic mentor-mentee relationships. I'm also happy to say, in our phase 2 of implementation, we're able, thanks to the board, to bring on females of color. They just completed their first full year of engagement. Improvement of FOC grades and introducing circles of accountability with them as well, with peer-to-peer mentoring, and emphasizing and being present in school daily in an effort to improve FOC attendance. Next slide, please. I think I went a few slides. Stay right there. Here we have, as you can see on this slide, and I will get a more deepened report to the board and Dr. Lally once the IT has finished their compilation of things, but we have added 15 performance indicators, as you can see on the screen, that monitors the success for our students, that has also been added into the eSchool system. Next slide, please. We've implemented Tuesday Tie Day, and then Tuesday Tie Day is on every first and third Tuesday of the month, where we teach our young men respect the belonging of others, using polite language, and respecting boundaries, and making eye contact while utilizing firm handshakes. Our numbers for last year, our numbers as of March 1, 22, for males of color has been 773 young men, grand total. The 4 principles for females of color is sisterhood, scholarship, integrity, and honor. Our females of color held their first Black Girls Matter Symposium facilitated by Angela Mumford Davis, which I believe Dr. Goodwine was a part of that panel discussion. We also held our first Girls Empowerment Day with guests Letitia Perry from Channel 7 and Marsha Bonhart, and a host of businesswomen from the Dayton community. They too have a first and third Tuesday, but theirs is called Tailored Tuesday. They can either wear dresses or they can wear slack outfits, and they focus on what it is to be a lady. As of right now, I'm happy to say at the end of the first year for females of color, we ended with 318 young ladies in our programs from grades 3 through 12. Next slide, please. When our males of color and females of color come together, we have our cultural engagement inclusion, which is a space for students in males of color and females of color program. This intentional program focuses on our marginalized students, regardless of race, ethnic backgrounds, to engage in organized social and acquire social justice issues and learn about identities beyond their own. Just recently on Saturday, the Cultural Engagement Inclusion Program collaborated with 5 Rivers Metro Parks, where our students participated in Passport to Fishing. Our students also participated in the National Air Force Museum trip and went to Paul Laurence Dunbar House. We're currently working on some financial literacy programs for students in grades 6 through 12. And we're also starting something new. Transform Consultant is collaborating with our office where we will provide career mentors that will work closely with our life coaches and our sophomores and our juniors that will help them for the next 3 years focus on what it is that their careers they're going to take place, what kind of pathways and what that looks like, how to build a resume, how to interview, and how to have perfect engagement when they talk to a business leader. We're also working on continuing to work with collegiate mentoring collaborations with Central State University, Wilberforce, Sinclair, Wright State, and UD. We have a Greek mentoring collaboration with a lot of the fraternities and sororities. And our MBK division just started Dayton Barbershop and Beauty Salon Talks, which was very engaging for not just our young men and our young ladies, but a lot of community leaders who volunteered to be a part of it. We're basically focusing on inclusiveness and having inclusive discussions. Also, I want to have a special thank you to the Air Camp, Mayor Mims, Commissioner Shaw, the Dayton International Airport Director Gil Turner for creating a special aviation day, not just for cultural engagement and inclusion students, but for all DPS students in high school. They were able to take a all-day trip at the Dayton International Airport where they learned about different careers, whether it was in aviation, whether it was in lawn, whether it was in hotel, whether it was in finance and accounting. They got a chance to walk and talk with these individuals in those career paths and learn more about what goes on at the Dayton International Airport. We're looking to host a second one this coming year, and I'm very excited about that. Our responsibilities for cultural engagement and inclusion is developing district-wide engagement student programs, continue to work with marginalized males of color and marginalized females of color students, develop talented career pipelines for a successful future during and after their chapter at Dayton Public Schools. As you can see, if you go to the next slide, there are some of the metrics that we have available. Those just a little synopsis from 357 of our students showing and displaying their brotherhood, sisterhood, scholarship, integrity, and honor, and some that are showing all the characteristics. Next slide, please. Our attendance, as you can see, is roughly about 59.9% good, 31.4 needs improvement, and about 8.7% is critical. So we're still working on those two categories and reaching out to those parents to get involved to make sure that they are getting their kids in school. Next slide, please. Our behavior, 68.7% of our students enrolled in our program is good, 26.6% is needs improvement, and about roughly 6% is critical. Next slide, please. This is the breakdown of our students enrolled currently in cultural engagement inclusion, males of color and females of color. 81.3% are African American, 51.5% of those are male, and 29.8% are young ladies. Next slide, please. These are some of the engagements that our students have participated: the Aviation Day, March Madness. We've had some football engagements. We have a young man right there to your right, Chase Wells, participated in Air Camp last year. He was one of 3 young men sent by DPS, was able to participate in that, and he was able to fly solo along with 2 other young men who flew solo last year from Xenia to Dayton, and they're currently still working on their flight lessons. Next slide, please. And this is a combination of our Distinguished Males of Color Awards that ended in May and our Females of Color Awards. Next slide, please. These are some of the pictures from our camp that we had. We went to the Air Force Museum with some of our students, and they were able to meet some of the soldiers and have some engagement with them as they were about to leave, and the soldiers kindly took a picture with them before they left. And our students, when they went to the Paul Laurence Dunbar House this past Thursday. Next slide, please. And this is some of the engagement that took place in our summer engagement camp, where our students were making crafts and learning more about themselves. This is the career mentoring collaboration I shared with you briefly with Transform Consultant. AT&T and AES were the funders of this operation, where we'll be looking at 100 high school students from sophomore and juniors that will be focused on those career mentors. Next slide, please. MBK Dayton. We also want to make sure, and I make a promise to our young men and our young ladies when they leave, males of color and females of color, that our relationship does not end. MBK Dayton is part of Senator Sherrod Brown's initiative and former President Obama, my brother's keeper. So we've pulled in MBK Dayton into our umbrella, where we have 3 young employees who actually work under Senator Sherrod Brown's office, and they pretty much support this initiative, where our students that are 18 or graduating up to 25 work with those students and making sure they still have all the sources and the needs that they have once they leave DPS, and they're starting to track that. So we currently have roughly 15 students part of MBK, but they don't just focus on Dayton Public School students. They focus on all the students in Montgomery County. So using that opportunity, they promoted our MBK barbershop talks and our beauty salon talks, which allowed other students to be a part of this discussion. So our students get the chance to talk and fellowship and get to learn from other students from other districts. Next slide, please. MBK Dayton leads a daily cross-sector call to action within Montgomery County focused on building safe and supportive communities for boys and young ladies of color, where they feel and valued and have clear pathways to opportunity. Next slide. And next slide, please. This is the team. Leah Edwards, she is actually a freshman at University of Dayton, and she supports a lot of the admin work for MBK Dayton. And Leroy Bean, who is also an adjunct at Stivers, but he also in afternoon works for MBK Dayton in the office. Thank you. Next slide. And next slide, please. These are some of the collaborators who support our program right now, and I won't read them all, but you're pretty much familiar with a lot of these. One I would like to point out is the Mentoring Collaborative. AT&T and AES have been very strong supporters, along with a host of others that are on the screen. Of course, Central State. But I really can't say enough about our staff, who also spends a lot of tireless time with our students after they clock out. A lot of engagement goes on in the evenings, a lot of times where they're having text messages and phone calls, just trying to keep our students focused on what they need to do on a daily basis. Next slide, please. And I just want to say thank you to the parents for allowing us to shape and change the narrative by investing in our students daily here at the DPS Office of Cultural Engagement and Inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Worley. I want to say appreciate you giving us an update. I appreciate the events. I know myself, been able to come out to quite a few, and I really appreciate the time. I did have a couple of questions, and I wanted to ask if the board had any other questions or comments. With how we're coming out of COVID and we're seeing some of these things that we're facing, what are some of the PD, professional development opportunities that will be offered to the staff to kind of help them cope with a lot of the different things that they're seeing that our students are bringing into the schools because of just so many things going on out in society?
I'm glad you asked that question. That is one of the things that we have already scheduled for this upcoming year, because having some of the debrief discussions with the staff of some of the challenges that they've seen with different students, also what's going on in our community, and then a lot of times things that they're having going on in their own home life that they may not be able to turn off the switch to focus on the kids. We have some programming put in place for a lot of PDs before school starts and ongoing throughout the year. So we have one for each grading period.
Okay, and then secondly, I appreciate that. Secondly, with the MBK Dayton program, with that wanting to be an umbrella for a lot of the Montgomery County things, what are some of the plans that you guys have in place to kind of connect, with the county's engagement program, or, the reentry programs or the fatherhood initiatives and things like that are in different spaces, how we can grow that?
Leroy and Aaliyah are currently working on that as we speak. They have met with our MBK Ohio team, Kyle and Mike King, and are also working on collaborating with MBK Springfield this summer. We plan on having some engagement to COSI with some other organizations and MBK Springfield. We've also working with Braxton Miller Foundation, currently trying to put some things for STEM and some other initiatives that will pull not just DPS students, but also some other programs that are going on throughout the Montgomery County.
Appreciate you, Dr. Worley. Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Board Member Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Worley, I just want to say thank you to you and your team for all of the work that you guys and gals have been doing for the last couple of years. I do have a question. In slide 31 and 32, you stated there was 3: good, need improvement, critical. What is, when it comes to attendance, what does good look like, and behavior? What classifies good?
We try to stay in line with what Truancy puts out with their metrics. So those are the numbers that we're pulling.
Got it. And then the last question for me, and I don't know if you can do it, well, I know you can do it because you're a genius. Is there a way to get data on where the young men and young ladies were attendance and behavior-wise before they got into MOC, FOC, and where they ended up at the end of the year?
That was a question I asked end of last week with IT, and they're working on that.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Board Member Sampson. Anyone else? We'll go to Vice President and then down to Dr. Goodwin.
Thank you for being here, Dr. Worley. I'm so appreciative of the work that you do for this district. I just want to let you know that the impact that your program has is even larger than you expect. My daughter goes to elementary, she just left elementary school, and she's not part of the program, but she saw the presence in the building, and she remarked upon it, and she noticed every Tuesday on tie day how boys would wear ties, and I'm just so grateful that we have this in our schools and for the work that you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing, doctor?
Great.
So on slide 25, because I have a little bit of deeper question, you talked about the intentional programming, then I'm gonna just paraphrase into helping individuals learn more about identities beyond their own. I do like that you guys have a Tie Tuesday for boys and you have the Skirt Day for girls. But knowing that we live in a society today where we also have non-binary children, how are you exploring and open that world so those individuals don't feel left out because they don't identify necessarily with the gender roles?
I'm glad you asked that question. That is actually one of the things that we had a brief discussion on near the latter part of our academic year that we really are exploring, because at first we did not have, that was not a discussion. But as we're starting to learn more about our students and building deeper relationships, we're starting to find out new things about some of our students, and so those are some of the discussions that we are putting in place to make sure they feel valued and they have a place as well.
Okay, so I hope to hear beyond like that general statement,
Mhm.
like what the action steps to get these individuals involved, as well as helping them feel welcome with the conversation. Pronouns is a big conversation, and it's a big piece today with individuals and how they identify, and being able to teach individuals about this world that is opened up. And there is all types of intersectionalities between race, gender, and a slew of other things. So it's good to hear that you guys have started the conversation, and I look forward to the action steps next to really bring this culture in and help us with that. My second question for you today is, tell me a little bit about your staff retention. So what are we looking like at? Do we have a high turnover? Do we have a medium? Are individuals staying with the program?
Let me get back to the first question that you just had, 'cause
Go
I want to add to that. There is a PD that we're looking at offering through Montgomery County Mentoring Collaborative that's going to explore what you just asked. So I really wanted to fine tune and get those nuggets out of that. That's going to be offered the first part of August to share with the team before really digging deep into that. So I'll be able to give you more detail on that. As opposed to the second question, the turnover this year has been not as challenging as it was my first year. One of the things about engaging young people, everybody says they love the kids, but our role here with our program is a lot of independent engagement with our students. So I believe our team right now is pretty much intact, and it's very positive. We are growing, which is a good thing, so we're looking to add hopefully 3 more young ladies, 2 females of color, and one of those will be multilingual, as well as we add 1 more males of color life coach will be multilingual as well, to make sure we represent the students in our district.
Okay, and if I could suggest that in addition to the PD that you just mentioned, really reaching out to the LGBT Center, as that group is their leaders in this area. And even with your seeking of additional staff members, like being open to transgenders, to non-binary adults that can actually help show that representation in school. And I really like the diversity that you have amongst the different races of the kids that's in your program. That shows that it's just not limited to minority students. So that's pretty good. But thank you for that information, and I look forward to the next time we talk about this program, to seeing how you grew a little bit deeper in this area to really address what this generation is going through now as they are finding their identities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Worley, for your work. I'm wondering, okay, if I'm a DPS student and I want to be involved in your program, is it more of an outreach program, or is it something that is opened up to all of our students in the buildings? Or, yeah, I'd like to hear about that a little bit.
So how do you be a part of Males of Color?
I
Female
want to
Show?
join. I want to join.
Only requirement is that you have to be a DPS student. That is the only requirement. You'd be amazed how many requests we get from parents and guardians outside the district wanting to be a part of the program, but unfortunately, this program is only designed for our DPS students.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Lastly, just for anybody watching, Dr. Worley, if there are any people that want to get involved in helping, volunteering, donating, giving some of their time, helping out the program, how can they reach you guys?
They can go to the DPS website or they can go to our social venues to email me or reach out and call the number 937-542-3015 or call the office 542-5369.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Madam Treasurer, do we have anybody here from any of our bargaining units? I do not see any. Oh, we do have one. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Protocol's been established.
Superintendent Lawley, President Smith, and all of your staff, board members. Good evening. I am Marie Winfrey, Local 627, DPS Transportation. And I first want to start off to say thank you, board members that came out to the transportation, that the request that was put out to you to join us in routes, riding with us on the buses and coming out and see what we do. We want to thank you very much. We appreciate it that you get to see how our jobs are dealing with the students on the buses. So thank you so much. I'm here to speak about the upcoming school year and the transportation issues that might be occurring, and we would like to prevent them as soon as possible or work something out. As we are approaching this upcoming school year, we need to be more preventive in our transportation department. Per a conversation that I had with management and with Dr. Lawley and Dr. Burton, the meeting that was called on April the 22nd of this year. And it was a question that was asked to the Local 627, how can we assist or more or less keep our drivers to make sure that we be able to transport our Dayton Public School students and the charter schools, since First Student will not be doing the charters and the parochials. And the question I responded to is that we would need route times increased. Besides, we're working right now 6-hour route times, and that we need to be on a 3-tier. At this moment, from my understanding and the information that I've received lately, that we only could be doing a 2-tier, and we still will be staying at 6-hour routes. We have 115 routes that's going to be coming forth with both charter and Dayton Public. At this time, we have 121 drivers, and also that 11 of those drivers are on sick leave, FMLA, or we have lost them. We're trying to be very preventive before the school year starts, so we will be able to accommodate the question that was asked, can we handle the charters and Dayton Public School? I'm presenting and coming forth with you that we need to make the changes in our tiers. Bail schedule needs to be 3, and the routes should be up more than 6 hours. We're losing drivers also. I've received calls that drivers are not coming back this upcoming school year due to the circumstances of our hour route time is only going to be 6. Increase in gas has been come. Cost of living has come up. The economy has increased. We must consider those things in the idea of us just driving 6 hours or giving us 6-hour routes. We also have issues that's going on that there's communication is not coming to us forthcoming as we expected it should be, as we requested before. And the issues that's going on at the transportation department, things have not increased or it's just stagnant at this moment. I'm bringing forth this information to you so we can see if we can be a better preventive before the school year begins, because at this time, it will be a failure. We don't have enough drivers at this time to cover that, and it will be excessive if we can be able to assist. Anyway, you will be paying us extra pay to cover those extra routes. If we can be able to have the increase in our route time, then you will be benefiting more. I'm bringing this forth to you. I thank you for listening.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Are there any other bargaining units? I see none. Madam Treasurer, do we have members of the public signed up to speak?
Yes.
Oh, before we start, I would just like to say, when called upon, identify yourself, state your name, address, and then if non-English speakers, if you need an interpreter, one will be provided to you and time may be extended due to that. Address the board as a whole through the president and not board members individually. If you have any materials for distribution to the board, hand them to the treasurer prior to speaking. Limit remarks to 3 minutes, and it is inappropriate to address any matter involving pending disputes, grievances under a labor agreement, disciplinary action involving an employee or student, ongoing labor negotiations, concerns or matters that have already been settled, and/or any matter which, because of its nature, is deemed appropriate to be discussed in executive session. Madam Treasurer, can you call up our first speaker, please?
Gail Ervin.
Good evening, Superintendent Lally and President Mr. Smith and the board. My name is Gail Irvin. I'm here from West Chester, Ohio. I'm here on behalf of my granddaughters who are students at the Dayton Public School District, and I'm coming with concern out of your school lockdown policy. Prior to COVID, I was in one of your buildings when a lockdown drill occurred, and I was really taken aback on the procedures because it was like our kids were sitting ducks in the classroom. The door wasn't locked. There was no barricades at the door. There was no opportunity for the kids to have fight, pick up a book, a computer, just in case something happened. And I didn't want to question the teacher in front of the students. And then COVID hit, the kids were home. Now we're back. My girls just finished another year, and the same procedure is in place, where they sit. My one granddaughter told me the door wasn't locked for the classroom. And being an educator myself, I'm responsible for kids and their safety. And when we have lockdown drills, my kids automatically know we barricade all the doors. We follow Alice, and I'm not sure if you guys are following Alice, but we barricade the doors, turn out the light, computers are closed. My kids will grab a book or whatever just in case an intruder is in the building. They have a way of fighting, maybe distracting the intruder to hopefully get to safety. I appreciate you listening to me this evening. So hopefully in moving forward next year, my girls will have a different story to tell me. I'm very involved in their lives. Now that they're older, they don't spend the whole summer with me, but I do see them regularly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Irwin. Dr. Lally, if we could have someone give Ms. Irwin's information, we can speak on that. And also, we'll be talking on our safety later on in the meeting. So definitely want to get your information. I appreciate you bringing that to the board. Madam Treasurer.
Jamie Ryan.
Good evening, Superintendent Lally, President Smith, and the board. I'm here to just make a few comments, as usual. The first thing that I want to address are from the agenda are under HR. I looked at the separations, and I think I asked this a couple meetings ago, but I'm wondering, with those separations that are listed, are we following up with exit surveys or exit interviews? Are people telling us why they're leaving? And is there anything within the district's control that can be addressed or changed to retain our employees? Another thing under HR that I noticed in the changes of assignments, there were 10 to 12 principals and vice principals who are changing. I don't know what exactly that means. I'm assuming they're changing buildings. And I know in the past, the reasoning for moving at least vice principals was to give them different experiences in different buildings with different leadership. And I'd like to push back on that model a little bit. I really think it's important to keep principals and vice principals in their same buildings with each other for a number of years, 3 or more, if possible. I think it gives a sense of stability for the building, for the students, for the teachers. I think stability leads to safety and to a culture that promotes learning. So I would really, in all means possible, let's keep principals and vice principals in their same buildings for as long as possible. The next thing I'd like to address is transportation. as we all know, that the first student contract isn't moving forward, that high school students will be issued RTA passes. With regard to that, one point I want to point out is communication. I think we need to be over-communicating this to parents and students, that they will be writing, high school students will be writing the RTA. If students are hesitant, like they don't know how to do it, I'd encourage them, I'm encouraging parents and community members to say, RTA is free on the weekends this summer. Get your student out there, get them practicing, you know, getting comfortable writing the RTA, the stops that they need. I don't want this to adversely affect our attendance and our high schoolers. Weekly reminders via social media, whatever is planned, over-communicate. Can't push that enough. The other thing, and I guess I'm going to piggyback on Marie for my 5 seconds left. I don't know if the ESSER funds that we were using for the first contract, if there are extra funds in the ESSER funds from not having the contract. But is there a way that we can give our drivers a 40-hour week to help retain them? I don't know what the situation is in terms of benefits, what they have, but please, I implore you to listen to Marie and everything she has to say so we can start off this year getting our students where they need to be and having the drivers in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Appreciate you.
That concludes tonight's public speaking.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Now, pursuant to Section 121.22G2 of the Ohio Revised Code, I move that this board go into executive session. This meeting is being held to consider the appointment, employment, and/or dismissal of a public employee. We will have a second.
Second.
It's been second. Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wigani,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacey.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. Meet me in the board conference room, please.
good?
Yes.
Let the record show that the Board of Education of the Dayton City School District has just completed an executive session during which it considered the appointment, employment, and/or dismissal of a public employee. I move that we now exit our executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Then second, Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. Next order of business, I move that we waive the 48-hour rule. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? If not, Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you, and the board will see that those names for the 48-hour rule waiver will now be listed under Superintendent's Recommendations A. Madam Superintendent, your recommendations, please.
I'd like to recommend the approval of the human resources items listed on the agenda.
I move that we accept Superintendent Recommendation A. Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions from the board? Dr. Goodwin.
Yes. Give me 1 second. Look at something. So we had someone bring up a question here today about the principals being moved. And I just like the superintendent to speak a little bit about the changes, or the culture or education or whatever we're trying to achieve with these moves.
I think that the moves that have been recommended by the chiefs to me and discussed with me are to either strengthen an administrative team or to allow different experiences for people that are on the track to become principals. So I think the changes that we're recommending are quality changes. Some of the changes are actually promotions. So those are why some buildings had openings to begin with. There are principals that are being promoted, or assistant principals, excuse me, that are being promoted.
Any other questions? I do have a question. I do see a couple more teacher resignations. One concern, with so many of with these resignations, is there a consideration with maybe using possibly from curriculum team or some of the other pieces, getting with HR to kind of fortify supports for our new teachers as they come in? If there's some things that I know we do a lot of things right now, but is there some additional things that we could do? And then also I wanted to follow up from last week around the reasons for leaving. Has there been any kind of work in the previous week or any kind of thoughts around what can we do to make sure that we see fewer and fewer people leaving the district and that we can address some of the concerns that have been raised by people that do leave the district?
One of the things that the curriculum team does spend a great deal of time with new people, but we can definitely take a look and see what other comments may have come up with the separation whenever they filled out why they're on their exit forms, excuse me. So we can take a look at that. The other thing is that thematically we're looking at those exit comments, and then the cabinet and I will be talking about how we can approach that at our principals retreat on July 21st, I believe it is, to talk to them about some of the issues that are related to that. If there are issues related to curriculum or working conditions of some sort, then those will also be addressed. But we're looking at for themes across the board with the exit surveys to try and see what we need to do to support and to increase.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Dr. Goodwin.
Question for the parliamentarian. Since Board Member Sampson, since the motion is on the floor, if I wanted to ask to pull one of the items to vote separately, have I missed that opportunity, or how can I make that happen?
So there's a motion to accept on the
Correct.
floor for Human Resources?
Correct.
So to pull an item, you have missed it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. That's fine.
Anything else?
So clarification, Mr. President?
Mr. Sampson?
Are we still not in question? Or is this in questions?
Yes.
So if we're in question, can you pull an item if we're still in conversation about it?
I don't think so, because you have a motion and a second to accept it. But somebody has to look that up.
I think that's correct, because it is a second. Yes.
Is there any other questions on the motion at hand? If not, Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
No?
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
No.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
5 yeses, 2 no.
Your next recommendation, Dr. Lally?
I'd like to recommend the approval of the contracts. These were reviewed at the review session.
I move that we accept recommendation B. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Are there any questions on the motion? Not, Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation, please, Dr. Lally?
I'd like to recommend the resolution C to accept the administrators who are on a one-year contract. And I want to be very clear, these one-year contracts when you're a new hire, typically have 3 one-year contracts before you get a multiple year contract. This is not a disciplinary one-year contract.
Okay, I move that we accept recommendation C. Do I have a second?
Second.
This has been moved and second. Are there any questions on the motion? Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation, please.
I'd like to recommend the approval of the resolution for administrator and DSS reappointments. Again, this is just a matter of approving people that are already employed.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Are there any questions? Not, Madam Treasurer.
I do have a question. The way
Dr. Goodwin.
the way that you guys are moving so fast, you don't give an opportunity to ask for something to be pulled. Like on this one, my sister-in-law is on here, and I would have liked for it to be pulled, but you guys are moving so fast that we aren't having the opportunity to pull names for us to vote. But you already have it out there, a motion in a second, so I can't pull it now because we have to vote once that happens.
So noted. Appreciate that, Dr. Goodwin. Is there anything else on the motion? May we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Abstain.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
6 yeses, 1 abstain.
Your next recommendation, Dr. Lally.
I'd like to recommend the approval of the resolution for DEA reappointments. These are all the DEA members who would be rehired for next year.
Thank you. Do I have I would like to move to accept the recommendation. Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions? If not, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Abstain.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
6 yeses, 1 abstain.
Next recommendation, Dr. Lally.
I'd like to recommend the approval of the resolution for S. Davis.
Thank you. I would like to move that we accept recommendation F. Do I have a second?
Second?
It's been moved and second. Any questions on the motion? Not, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Abstain.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
No.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
5 yeses, 1 no, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Your next recommendation, Dr. Lally.
I'd like to recommend approval for the resignation agreement for Jay Hahn.
Move that we accept superintendent recommendation G. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Do we have any questions? There are no questions. Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation, Dr. Lally.
I'd like to recommend the approval of the separation agreement for L. Hogue.
I move to accept recommendation H. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Question from Vice President.
I am not actually seeing anything under administrative content under this item or executive content like I am items G and I. Is there something I'm missing? Are you folks seeing it? I would like to see that there.
I don't see anything under mine either.
And I just refreshed and now.
She's asking if we can come back to it.
It's a motion on the floor.
Oh.
It is not on that one, Dr. Lally. Thank you, Sharice. Thank you for everybody for your patience.
Are there any questions on the motion that is on the floor? May we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation, Dr. Lally?
I'd like to recommend the approval of the separation agreement for Kay Woody.
I move that we accept superintendent's recommendation I. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? If there are none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. Does that conclude your recommendations, Dr. Lally?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you. Madam Treasurer, your recommendations.
I would like to recommend a temporary certificate of estimated resources for fiscal year 2023 as reviewed last week.
So moved.
Been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions? If not, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
I would like to recommend the temporary appropriation measure for fiscal year 2023 as reviewed last week.
I move that we accept Treasurer recommendation B. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Are there any questions?
Quick question, Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lacy.
Madam Treasurer, the temporary appropriation list for general fund budget, the amount, and then it says C program budget, but the program budget isn't attached. Is it because it's a temporary budget that we're not seeing the program budget?
What do you mean?
Okay.
The budget for general fund
If you click on the appropriation, right, there's a general fund appropriation of $230,498,698.
Sorry, that's, we should have deleted that one. We don't have a program budget. That's the ZBB budget we show you separately, but we don't put it on the approval.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah. That should have been deleted, that C program budget.
so we're budgeting it, so we're appropriating it at the fund level.
This is a fund level, but the ZBB is on a spreadsheet.
Right, and I've seen that, and that's
Yeah.
all, and we've also voted on that in the past. Actually, I looked in May, we voted on the program
It should have been-
appropriations.
It should have been under the executive content. I can.
Oh, okay, I mean, we can look at it later.
Yeah.
That's
Should
fine.
have been, I normally put it under executive content, that one, the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Lacy. Any other questions? May we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
I recommend the approval of monthly financial report for May as reviewed by the Finance Committee on Thursday.
So moved.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions? No questions. Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
I recommend the approval to have a permission for a treasurer to utilize single source documents.
Move to accept Treasurer recommendation D. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Are there any questions? There are no questions. May we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
No.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
6 yeses, 1 no.
Next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
I'd like to recommend the permission to advertise for a formal solicitation.
Like to accept, move that we accept Treasurer's recommendation E. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Do we have any questions? Seeing there are none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
I would like to recommend approval for a permission to utilize purchasing cooperatives.
Move that we accept Treasurer's recommendation F. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions?
Who seconded it?
Dr. Pickett.
Okay, thank you.
We have no questions. We have a vote.
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
No.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
6 yeses, 1 no.
Next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
I would like to recommend the approval of minutes for May 2022.
I move to accept Treasurer's recommendation G. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Do we have any questions? No questions. May we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
I would like to, the approval. I would like to recommend the approval of donations as reviewed last week.
Move to accept recommendation H. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'd like to also thank everyone who has donated, and I deeply appreciate it. Are there any questions on the motion? If there are none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation, please, Madam Treasurer.
I would like to recommend the approval of purchase requisitions as reviewed last week.
Okay. We have reviewed. I would move to accept the recommendation I from the Treasurer. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Do we have any questions? There are no questions. May we have a vote, please, Madam Treasurer?
President Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
Did I say Miss Reinhardt?
You missed me, Treasurer.
Yes. Okay. Miss Reinhardt?
Yes.
Sorry, 7 yeses.
Thank you. And your next recommendation, please.
I would like to recommend the approval of Then and Now as reviewed last week.
I move to accept Treasurer recommendation J. Do we have a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Any questions? May we have a vote, Madam Treasurer?
President Smith,
Yes.
Miss Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Miss Wigani,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Does that conclude your recommendations?
Yes.
Thank you. Move on to new business. First bit of new business that we do have, we have a couple of resolutions, and I would like to turn over the floor to go over these resolutions to our Vice President, Jocelyn Reiner. Vice President.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to introduce these today, and I want to speak just a little bit about them. The first resolution that we have is in support of extending the Child Nutrition Waiver Authority, and I'm going to read the resolution. Whereas the current authority for the USDA to issue waivers is set to expire June 30th, 2022, and whereas this expiration would impact USDA's ability to respond to the supply chain, operational, and access challenges affecting school districts, and whereas the waiver gives schools the tools and flexibilities they need to recover from the impacts of the pandemic and resume normal operations, and whereas an extension of the current USDA waiver authority through September 30th, 2023 will help districts and others compile the data needed regarding school meal participation, as these numbers have changed since the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas this waiver authority has helped districts address food insecurity for numerous students, which impacts their ability to learn and succeed in school. Therefore, be it resolved that the Dayton Public Schools Board of Education relies on the child nutrition waiver for flexibility in labor shortages and supply chain delays. And therefore, be it resolved that the Dayton Public Schools Board of Education believes that the child nutrition waiver extension is crucial to addressing food insecurity and an important tool to establish and support healthy eating habits for children. And be it further resolved that the Dayton Public Schools Board of Education strongly supports Congress extending the USDA waiver authority for the 2022-2023 school year. This is a lot of legalese language. This really comes down to the fact that schools have been given waiver authority, and it's expiring at the end of this month. This is crucial for the way that school districts operate. Supply chain issues have been really long-standing across the country for this last school year, as well as, more importantly, making sure that we are giving all of our students the ability to access the nutrition that they need. The universal free breakfast and lunch will expire. An estimated 10 million more students are fed because of this waiver authority. It has dramatically expanded the summer food service program, and community groups are able to provide have been able to provide 4.3 billion meals because of this waiver authority. We strongly support this waiver authority being extended through the 2023 school year. I've had numerous conversations with our area representatives. Recently, I met a few days ago with Congressman Mike Turner's office and talked a little bit about this, emphasizing how important this was. I've talked with Senator Portman's office and Senator Brown's office about the importance of doing this. We strongly support it. This is good for our district. This is good for students, especially districts such as ours, where we have a very high number of children who do not have access to proper nutrition and proper fresh fruits and vegetables, especially in the summer when they are not coming to school buildings every single day and they need it. I'll be passing this on to Congressman Turner and Senator Brown and Senator Portman's offices. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have this up for consideration.
Thank you. I would like to move to accept the resolution supporting extending the child nutrition waiver. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I have a question.
Dr. Goodwin.
Dr. Lawley, if this does expire and it's not renewed, what is our district? How is it impacting us? And what are our backup plans?
What it actually does is will cost more Supply chain issues are major anyway, and if this expires, we aren't going to be able to get the food in that we need to have in, so it will be more expensive where we do find it. In the middle of COVID, we're really tracking down a lot of prepackaged meals so that we could send them out to kids, and because of that, trying to find suppliers for that they were scarce, so it was more costly. So that's the effect that I see happening with this. If we're not able to respond to the supply chain and actually get the food in for the kids, then I think it'll be more costly, or we won't be able to provide as many meals, perhaps. I'm guessing about that, about what the effect will be. But this is major because we've had this waiver in place since COVID, and it's really helped us feed many, many more students than we were able to before.
Will it affect summer food right now? Because
Right
June
now-
30th is in about 9
Yeah.
days, so.
Right now, I think we're okay with summer supply. I think we pre-stocked, pre-froze some things. It would likely occur after that.
Okay, in addition to this, knowing that again, it may or may not be renewed, are we working with any of the individuals in our area that specialize in food, like the food bank, Home Field, or any of those type of places, if there is a disruption?
I don't know that we are at this point in time. I'm not sure they wouldn't have the same food chain supply issues that we have, but I mean, we can reach out and work with them. They helped us through COVID with meals, evening meals for our families. Many of them, restaurants came together, and our neighborhood school centers came together, and food banks to provide evening meals for our students and their families.
Thank you.
So we can check into that if this doesn't pass, we can check into that.
Mr. Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Vice President Reiner, 2 questions. Is there consideration that this waiver won't be extended? Do you know?
There was some proposed legislation in DC. It is not getting the traction. I believe that the minority leader in the House has effectively blocked this.
Got it. And then the second question is, when will communities, districts learn if it has been extended? After June 30th, will they send out notification to us? Will we be able to, how do we get the word that it's been extended or not?
So right now, it's not looking promising. I still think it's important for us to pass this because it is important that our elected officials know how important this is to districts. I will let you know if anything changes in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Any other questions? It's been moved and seconded. No further questions. May we have a vote, Madam Treasurer?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. And the next resolution B, Madam Vice President.
Thank you. This one's a bit longer. I'm going to read through it first. This is a resolution opposing House Bill 322, 327, and 616. Whereas Ohio House Bill 322 has been introduced to prohibit teaching, promoting, or advocating of prohibited concepts that center on race and sex in Ohio public schools. And whereas Ohio House Bill 327 has been introduced to prohibit teaching, advocating, or promoting divisive concepts in Ohio public schools and includes several penalties for violations. And whereas Ohio House Bill 616 has been introduced to amend and enact sections of the revised code regarding the promotion and teaching of divisive or racist concepts in Ohio's public schools. And whereas Dayton Public Schools Board of Education passed a resolution in June 2020 stating that the district shall do everything in its lawful power to ensure that all of our students and staff have equitable access to the quality education, resources, and services they deserve. The district shall continue to routinely train our staff in the areas of cultural diversity and sensitivity, and the district will reinforce our commitment to making our schools safe havens where all children are respected and nurtured, where all children can achieve and grow, and where all children are guaranteed equity and justice. And whereas all 3 bills perpetuate false narratives that continue to divide our communities. And whereas House Bill 322, House Bill 327, and House Bill 616 encourage an environment of exclusion and intolerance and have no place in public education. And whereas House Bill 322, 327, and House Bill 616 devalue our students, staff, and families of color, and LGBTQ plus students, staff, and families. And whereas House Bill 322, House Bill 327, and House Bill 616 will discourage careers in education, impede Ohio's ability to attract well-qualified candidates to fill open positions, and will exacerbate the severe staffing shortages Ohio public schools currently face. And whereas House Bill 322, House Bill 327, and House Bill 616 would only perpetuate racism and discrimination and would limit the concepts, ideas, and materials that may be taught and used in the classroom to combat racism and other forms of discrimination. And whereas the Board of Education is concerned that House Bill 322, House Bill 327, and House Bill 616 seek to limit candid conversations about race and gender identity in our schools, spaces in which all children should feel safe and welcome. And whereas passage of these bills risks furthering the current mental health crisis through isolation and silence, and normalizing discrimination by creating a culture where students and educators do not feel valued and respected. Therefore, be it resolved that the Dayton Public Schools Board of Education believes that our state licensed professional educators and administrators are best qualified to make decisions regarding the appropriateness of instructional materials as approved by the Dayton Board of Education and techniques in our classrooms. Be it further resolved that the Dayton Public Schools Board of Education strongly opposes Ohio House Bill 322, House Bill 327, and House Bill 616. The superintendent is directed to forward this resolution to the Speaker of the Ohio House of Representatives. I'm sure other board members probably have a few things to say about this as well. I'm grateful for the ability to put this on the floor for consideration. I cannot emphasize strongly enough how truly malicious these bills are. I'm not going to put it any other way. These bills are designed to keep educators from teaching children about where we came from. If we don't know where we came from, we cannot correct and do better in the future. We just celebrated Juneteenth. And under these bills, we would not be able to talk about the fact that we had areas of the country where enslaved people did not know that they were free. That's wrong. That was wrong, and not teaching about it is wrong. Discriminating and teaching children that the very fact of who they are, that they are LGBTQ plus children, and devaluing that for our staff as well, that is wrong. That is not who we are. I want to make a quick correction. I just said that we celebrate Juneteenth. I would like to correct myself. We commemorate it. We don't celebrate that it took 2 years for the folks in Galveston to know that they were free. We recognize that with the solemnity it deserves. I have no more words to say about this. I'm grateful for the consideration. Thank you, Board.
Thank you. I move that we accept resolution opposing Ohio House Bill 322, 327, and 616. Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Start down with Dr. Goodwine.
Yes, first, Vice President Reiner, thank you for the work on it. I mean, you put there's a lot of writing on that one. But my second question is, as powerful as a resolution is, Dr. Lally, my question is, what are we doing to actually uphold the strength and the words in this resolution, especially around cultural diversity and sensitivity in our staff? What have we done since June 20th, 2020, or June 2020?
We've continued our equity training, continued working through both equity training for classroom teachers, but also all staff. Our equity director does that, Sharon Goins, and she's provided that staff in service. We actually presented all the things that we've done at the Ohio 8 at the beginning of June, and the list of things that have come from both the Office of Cultural Inclusion, Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Worley's office, as well as through the Equity Office. We've done a large number of things. One of the things that you'll see this coming school year is the building leadership teams. We have cohort trainings that occur 5 times throughout the year where the building leadership team comes together and they're trained together. The focus this year is on equity and what that looks like with our data, both in our attendance, our achievement data, as well as any other goal that the buildings have set on equity. So there's work on that, working through Zaretta Hammond's work on teaching strategies and expectations, learning and teaching those to our classrooms, as well as the continuing ongoing professional development on strategies that work for all students in our classrooms, including PSYOP, including Dr. Hammond's work, including even gradual release, making sure that we model and that we show students how things work and how things can be learned.
So I appreciate everything you said right there, but I'm going to ask, in addition to that, that a commitment from you that our equity team, which right now it's comprised of one individual, that individual can stay in equity and isn't pulled somewhere else, because we have to be more than just a team that says the word equity. It matters so much more for equity to actually be in the fabric of our existence than it is to be a check on the box. And it's, to me right now, I didn't even see it in our budget that we were increasing the resources for our equity team, which again is of one individual who spent the last year not doing as much equity work as I believe she could have done had she not been utilized another way. So I'm just asking that in support of the words that Vice President Reiner has put together on this resolution, that we take it a step farther and we see it in what we're doing in this district, that we utilize the different programs. We have Dr. Worley, we have Angela Worley, we have Sharon Gorns, we have so many individuals that work, well, some of them work in teams of one, that they're doing this type of work, but they're not collective because they're teams of one and they're pulled in so many directions.
I would suggest to you that they're not teams of one because we all work together. Dr. Worley, Angela Worley, and Sharon Goins, Victoria Jones, and Sherry Gale, Dr. Sherry Gale, are all part of a team that work together to support a variety of things that are for equitable work in the district. The other thing that I would say to you is that the reason that our BLTs, our building leadership teams, are focusing the way that they're focusing, and we've mapped it out with our state support team members, is because equity has been floating around the top of the surface here since we did Equity Fellows several years ago, and it hasn't permeated into every single classroom. So through the work of the building leadership team, that's the team that works in every building. We're hopeful that that will then branch out and actually get to every classroom so that we all are on the same page with that. Because I know exactly what you're saying about the idea that it's it's up here someplace. It can't be up here someplace, and I agree with you on that. So that's why the building leadership teams were moving in that direction, because if we can get to the building leadership team, then that will go back into the buildings and hopefully spread and permeate into every classroom.
That's all I had.
Thank you, Dr. Goodwin. Anyone else? If there's nothing else, I want to thank our Vice President for bringing that other resolution up. And it is definitely important and something that we should all strive to make sure we are pushing against anyone that does not believe in those kind of things or want us to subscribe to anything but the truth. May we have a vote, Madam Treasurer?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacey.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you very much. Once again, I want to thank you for that work. Well, we'll start with you, Vice President Reiner, with new business as well.
Thank you. Just a few things in regards to my role as legislative liaison. I'm in pretty regular communication, like I said, with the regional representatives for Congressman Turner and Senator Brown and Senator Portman. One thing that this board is talking about currently and has not taken action on, but we're talking about it, is school safety, especially regarding the passage of House Bill 99. What I will say right now is I'm grateful that at this point in time, we can approach this topic with care and consideration and thoughtfulness since school is not in session. If school were in session, I would feel a great urgency to make sure that some action was taken. We need to make sure that we're abiding by the newly passed legislation and the Ohio Revised Code. I will say personally, as a parent and as a board member, I want nothing more than for the safety of our students and teachers and staff to be our number one consideration when we talk about safety. That is all I'll say. Beyond that, there are a number of bills that were pending at the State House, but they are now in recess until after the August primary. So there's not a lot going along in the State House right now. And that is all I have for updates in regards to legislation. I hope that our students are doing well. I hope that they're healthy. I hope that they're getting well cared for and fed. I hope they are enjoying their summer vacation. I will say I did take my mask off temporarily to read out these resolutions. COVID reinfection rates are climbing. I had COVID a month ago and it was not pretty. I recommend that you wear a mask when you're in closed spaces and be careful about your transmission possibilities. That is all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Appreciate that once again. I will move over down to the end of the dais. Board Member Lacey.
Yeah, we had last Thursday we had a finance committee meeting and we went over the financial statements and they were in good order. That's about all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Lacey. I will come up now to Board Member Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say congratulations to the families, the coaches, the schools for the middle school athletic scholars. Congratulations on your success in both your sports and in the classroom. Also, I want to say thank you again to Dr. Worley and the presentation that he presented to us about the work that is going on in the males and females of color. And thank you for impacting the lives of the young men and women that we serve. And to the community members who spoke, thank you for always advocating for our community and our kids. And everybody stay safe. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Board Member Sampson. Ms. Witt-Gagne.
Thank you, President Smith. Thank you, board members, for all your work and dedication tonight. Thank you, Superintendent. Yeah, it was great to see all of those young athletes here this evening. It's very exciting. That reminds us of why we do the work that we do, so I appreciate that. We had a great kickoff to our Welcome Stadium groundbreaking, which I think a lot of the people in the room were here, and I'll let President Smith talk about that a little bit, but it was really just heartwarming to see how many people came out and how many people are excited about this renovation, and I'm looking forward to continuing the work there to bring that project to fruition for our community. So thanks to all of our staff. I hope everybody's having a safe, enjoyable summer. I would remind everybody too that yes, COVID numbers are up and we want to stay safe, and everybody do what we can to make the world a better place and a safer place. So I appreciate you all. Ciao. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Witt-Gagne. Dr. Pickett.
Thank you, Mr. President. The ESL committee did not meet this month. We postponed our meeting because we are trying to figure out how we can best assist the international school. And we're just working with potential community partners to see how they can best support the school. The policy meeting was postponed for next month, but I do have second reading for a resolution to adopt board policy. And inasmuch as the Board of Education is committed to the continual updating of its policies, rules, and regulations, manual, and the committee, which was appointed, has been working towards the goal the following at this time for second reading in compliance with board file. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Dayton City School District, Montgomery County, Ohio, hereby accepts and adopts the following policies that have been codified for inclusion in the Handbook of Policies, Rules, and Regulations. File EDE, acceptable use of internet safety and informational and educational technology. EDEA, cloud data storage policy. EDEA-1, removable media data storage policy. EDEB, portable device policy. And lastly, EDEC, social media policy. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to Vice President Reiner for introducing these resolutions. It's really important. I know that while COVID, we provided a lot of the meals for students in the summer, and we've been feeding our students. And even though we are doing that, the local library provided 14,835 meals to students. That tells me that there is a big issue that we all need to address. So thank you so much for trying to address this through the resolution. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, with those, that was second reading, correct?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to accept our policies?
So moved.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Do we have any questions? There are none. May we have a vote, Madam Treasurer?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson, Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett, Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Pickett. Dr. Goodwine.
I got a lot on my mind tonight. But first, I want to say, if you don't celebrate, and if you don't know, June 27th will be the 150th birthday of Paul Lawrence Dunbar. You would think that Dunbar alumni down there would have said that, but you know, it's always the Krugers coming through for you guys. I hope that actually the parent group we met and we had a very spirited conversation, not only about how the parent group can be better, but just really about the gaps in this district and how as parents and some of our staff that work with them, how that gap, we address that it's there, but we really aren't closing it at a rate that individuals would feel are better for them to keep moving forward. So the next parent meeting, we're working on actually doing it in person because the conversation was so good that we want to get in person to really get that type of fellowship and familiarity in with individuals. If you're interested in being in the parent group or coming to it, please shoot me an email. The email is goodwine@daytonpublic.com. It's on the website. I have no problem sending you out the invite, and it's open to any individual that is a parent, a community member, or has some type of connection to this community in the district. And we really want you there because when more individuals come from different areas, it helps us really get a worldview of what's happening in our district, as well as understanding and addressing concerns and sharing successes of each individual. I would say, other than that, I mean, I hear transportation, and I echo the concerns in transportation. I echo the concerns that we still have our transportation on a 6-hour work week when gas costs $5 and the cost of living is going up. So I really hope that we hear from our transportation department, the individuals that are making the decisions about what's happening in the upcoming year at our next meeting. I thought we were gonna hear from them in May, and it keeps getting pushed back, and the concern is here because that is a barrier to individuals participating in that barrier. Whatever we can do to prevent some of the gaps that are going to happen, we are charged with doing it. Just sitting here and waiting is just not something we can do, and just being informed and also being transparent with the parents in this area matters to things that impact their day-to-day. I mean, I still have the concern about our preschoolers and trying to just figure out ways of how we're going to get our youngest and most vulnerable individuals into school so they can have a better chance of being successful. Other than that, let's see. I got concerns that are not even concerns. I encourage and implore individuals, please stay connected with this Board of Education, that without your voices here and without hearing the different things, then we're just left up to our own judgment about how we believe this district should go. And this isn't just the 7 individuals up here on the board's district. This district belongs to the 11,900 plus students and parents that are in this area, as well as alumni. You have to engage with us. You have to talk to us. There is some very, very serious things happening in the State House, as Vice President Reiner has stated, legislation that has came out, and we need to hear not just from each other, but from people that this directly impacts, people who are in the classroom, people who walk the halls, people who work there, people who send their children. We need individuals to be engaged and talk to us because we do not have all the answers. And we do the best we can with the knowledge that we have. But when more people pour into us, that helps us do a better job of seeing every vantage point and not just what we think is right in this moment, given our limited information. So again, I really implore you, if you are involved with any of the many committees that we have here, be fully involved. Don't just complain to us on social media. Talk to us, help us work through, give us your ideas, because we listen. I think all 6 of my colleagues touch different aspects of this city, and you all matter to us doing what's best for this district to help us not only grow, but continue to be competitive with our students and getting them to that next place. But I don't know if there are any celebrations for Paul Laurence Dunbar, but I'm sure that if there are, I'm sure that our team will get it out to you and let you know how we are going to commemorate that. Please look around the area because Paul Laurence Dunbar touched more than just the Dayton area. He touched so many communities. Thank you, and that's all I have for you at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Goodwin. Madam Treasurer.
Thank you. Most of the people think summer is a vacation for the school district, but for the treasurer's office, this is the busiest time. We have to reconcile and balance the whole year's transactions and close the year before we open the next year. So this Friday is the last check we're going to write, and the next, if there is any reconciling items to be added, it is going to be in July. So we are very busy right now, and we are closing and reopening it in July 1st. That's it.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Dr. Lally.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of things. We received our reading Ohio State test scores for 3rd grade. Last year, we had 16% of our students who were proficient. This year, we are at 32.7, I think it is, of our students who are proficient. So we are back up in our 3rd grade reading to what we were pre-COVID. So another indication that both the math scores and the literacy scores, the reading scores, have gone up to get us back on par. Lots more work to do, but at least we are seeing those results from that double teaching classroom. And hopefully next year, with the way that our MAP scores look, our MAP scores look, we'll see even more increases in our 3rd grade, because those 2nd graders have really moved up a very good amount, and gaps have been closed in their grade levels as well as in the 1st grade. Our summer programs are happening right now, so I'd like to thank those that are hosting our summer programs. Many of our partners are hosting in our schools. Neighborhood school centers are hosting their summer programs, as well as some of our own internal teams are hosting summer programs as well. And then I'd like to congratulate the Stivers Chorale. They performed today, late this afternoon, at the National Choral Directors Conference in Columbus. And yesterday they gave a concert, a preparation concert for that, and they were just absolutely fabulous. The ladies that sang in that chorale are just phenomenal voices, and blend together and sound as if they're just one voice. So they were outstanding. So I'd like to congratulate them and congratulate Paula Powell and her great work that she continues to do at Stivers in our choral department. And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Lally. And I first will start with, I am proud to say that one of those voices in that chorale lives in our house, and I think she got that from me. That's where she got those singing chops from. Yes, that is where it comes from. First off, I do want to once again go over the fact that Vice President Reiner brought it up, House Bill 99. A lot of things have been going on and talk about how to make our children safe, and then frankly, what some of the things that come out are things that would make our children less safe. And so that is what we are looking at, is making sure that we are making sure our children are safe and our staff is at ease, our teachers are at ease. Teachers shouldn't have to worry about being a line of defense for our children. Looking at those kind of things, and we could be here a while talking about those things that come down and really disrupt what we try to do. So we'll have more on that. One, I will ask Dr. Lally, we did talk with Chief Wright, if he could, at a next meeting, speak on some of the ways that our SROs and our safety team are making our children safe. We would like to share that with parents. I think as a parent myself, I would want to know just what are the things being done? What are the precautions being taken place in our buildings? What are some of the things that we're working on? What are some of the things that we already do to ensure the safety of these nearly 12,000 students that we take care of daily? Next, Ms. Witt-Gagne spoke on it. We had the Welcome Stadium groundbreaking. It was a joy just to see so many students out. We had former players, former coaches. So, I mean, it really showed where we are as a district, from the future, from the past, to see trophies out from back in the 30s that were pulled out from storage. I want to thank our operations team for helping with that, and our athletics department. Miss Sarita and Miss Kidd also for helping. It was a real nice event. I wish I had my little shovel thing that was given out. That was really, really nice. And I've heard from so many people in the district, in the area, just how excited they are about that project, namely talking to the kids. So I really appreciate that. And I will say I saw Dr. Goodwine's yearbook out there on the table of old memorabilia. So we're getting up there in age now, I guess. They got memorabilia with us. Next, I want to say that we have worked with the Athletic Advisory Council. Dr. Goodwine is on that board with me, as well as Ms. Witt-Gagne. We're working on some new things that will probably be rolling out. Dr. Goodwine, who is also part of the policy committee, has raised some things that she would like to look at dealing with athletics, and I really appreciate her diligent nature that she takes into this work. We also will be rolling out some of our information about the Athletics Hall of Fame. Calls have been going out, and emails this week for folk who are be making up the committee that kind of oversees how that process will go. So be on the lookout for that. Next, we are with our student senates that were elected last year. Been having conversations with how can we, now that we are back and schools are open, how can they really reach out to the board? How can they have some things to do? How can we reach out and really give them some power as being student electeds and really get that civic conversation going? I do want to raise the opportunity. I think Ms. Ryan in our public comments had raised it up too. The RTA, with the free RTA on the weekend. I definitely think it's a great time to get out, figure out how to do these kind of things with the parents. And I will make an ask, Dr. Lally, if we as a district can coordinate something with possibly with our PFCC, with Dr. Goodwine, to really do something, if not only teaching people how to get out there during the summer, if we can set up a date where we are at the schools there to, have some kind of gathering. So on that weekend, we can have parents out, taking those kids out, and then meeting some people up at the schools. I definitely think as we talk about school safety inside the buildings, school safety getting to school is also a concern of parents, is making sure our children are safe, not only when they're in the building, but on the way to the buildings and until they get home. So from they leave the house in the morning to when they show up in that house at night, we want to make sure that they're safe and their parents know that they're safe. Everybody else, we want to tell you thank you for coming out. The parents that brought the children out, continue to stay safe this summer. We see a lot of things. We've seen incidences of violence. We've seen driving out of control. Have these conversations with your family members. Be honest with them. it's lives are being lost on the road. Lives are being lost in our communities. We just had a baby die in one of our neighborhoods from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So those kind of things. Talk to people about gun safety. These are our babies. These are the future. These are children. That's something I look at whenever I see any child that has something going on. I'm thinking that is a child that can be in our district. That is a parent or somebody that came from our district. And this happened just around the corner from where we'll be having the international school. So that's in our area. Those are things are happening. So please be safe. Please have these conversations with your friends and loved ones. Take care of yourselves. And we look forward to starting next year. It's coming up pretty soon. I know it's the summer, but August will be here soon. So with that, pursuant to section, it almost left me. Pursuant to section 121.22G2 of the Ohio Revised Code, I move that this board go into executive session. This meeting is being held to confer with an attorney involving pending or imminent court action. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Do I have any questions? If not, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Ms. Wiegany,
Yes.
Dr. Pickett,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Meet in the board conference room briefly.